We do this every year, the beginning of the year. We have an interview with the Prime Minister on DBS Radio. So stay tuned for that. Again, apart from radio, you can also follow us on social media platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook as well. Say good morning to you and welcome you to another interview with the Prime Minister of Dominica. As we have been promoting this, the Prime Minister is in studio and we are going to start off the discussion. My name is Ivona John Baptist Luge. Curtis Matthew, of course, will be helping us in this interview, the acting manager of DBS Radio, who is also the news editor. Let me welcome you wherever you are listening to us, on whatever medium that you are following us, and the other radio stations as well that are also partnering with us on this initiative. As I said, it is customary for DBS Radio to invite the Prime Minister to sit with us for an interview very early in the new year. Last year, we brought in a little of the Creole as well, but this year, Curtis Matthew and myself will conduct the interview. So apart from the regular press conference called by the Prime Minister, we make arrangements for a New Year's interview. And we will open up the lines at some point on that interview. And, of course, we will take your calls. Curtis Matthew will take it from there. Good morning to you, Curtis Matthew.
Good morning to you, Ivona John Baptist Luge. Good morning, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, all our viewers, all those who are listening. Let's go and say good morning, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit.
Good morning to you, Curtis and Ivona, and, of course, to all the listeners of DBS Radio. I'm always happy and honored to be here. This is an important part of my job, and I always take advantage of all the opportunities that are given to me to interact with the Dominican public, the citizens and residents of our country, to share them what the government is doing, to get your questions, and because you are the pulse of the nation as journalists, and we look forward to a very constructive engagement, and of course calls from the citizens and residents of Dominica to share with me their concerns, their suggestions, their ideas, because in this business all ideas must contend, and everybody has a view, everybody has a suggestion, and it's always good to listen and take note of the suggestions that the public would have from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Well, today Ivona marks the 21st year since Prime Minister Skerrit took the oath to become Prime Minister of Dominica. That is where I would like the interview to begin, so he can reflect on 21 years as Prime Minister of Dominica.
Let me just come in quickly before he begins to answer and extend New Year's greetings to him as well. Happy New Year, Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Well, 21 years. I mean, I have, January 31 will be 25 years as a Member of Parliament. I came in a very young age, as we all know. I assisted Rosie Douglas in becoming Prime Minister of the country by being a candidate and winning my seat in the Vickers constituency. So I'm very grateful to the residents and voters of the Vickers constituency who have consistently returned me to Parliament, and every election I've gotten an increased number of votes in my constituency. Of course, I became Prime Minister in 2004. We were in the middle of an IMF program, so I came in at a very difficult time, and I have been exposed successively to serious natural disasters, external shocks. So we have weathered very challenging times, and in the span of, for example, in 2 years, our economy was impacted by 90% of GDP in 2015 and 2017 by 226%. And then here comes, a couple of years later, the pandemic, which had a serious impact on the economy. So since 2005, we've had successive natural disasters coupled with other external shocks, the international financial crisis, the international oil crisis. But I think all in all, if we're honest with ourselves, we can say that the country has come a long way. People sometimes forget where we were in 2000 and 2004. I mean, every single road in Dominica was in poor shape. Our health system had huge challenges. Our education system, access to education was at all-time low. 7% of all high school graduates had access to the college when I became Minister for Education in 2001. And so we come a long way. We did not have night landing. Planes couldn't land. Our country closed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, while the rest of the world opened 24 hours. So we don't have time today to be able to talk about all these issues. But being the prime minister of a country like Dominica is a very difficult task. But what we remain committed to is it is a collective effort. We couldn't do it with all of the colleagues who have worked with successive cabinets, and also the confidence and trust that the people of Dominica continue to place in us. So I remain completely humbled by this position, and will continue to work for the greater good of Dominica.
Let's assess 2024 Prime Minister Skerrit, some of the highs and lows for your government in 2024. What would that be like?
Well, I mean, our country continues to be vulnerable, like many countries, in respect to climate change, the impact of climate change. Every year, and now the hurricane season is extended almost year round. With a possibility of a trough system, a possibility of excess rain that affects the community by way of flooding and erosion and mudslides and landslides. So you always have this challenge. You have the issue of the supply chain issues with goods and difficulties of getting goods into the Caribbean, into Dominica, and the cost now with insurance going up because of the impact of climate change, because of the insecurities of the vessel traversing the Red Sea and other areas, the Black Sea and other areas, and with pirates and so forth. All of those things are adding to the cost of goods and services, and that also impacts government itself, because government is the largest consumer of goods and services in the country. So when the goods go up, government costs goes up as well. But we can speak about a number of positive things. You're talking about major roadworks, the East Coast Road, for example. We all are now glorifying the condition of the road now, because it is complete, it is smooth. The people who live and traverse in those areas are excited about this. We signed the contract for the Lubia to Granby Bacatel Road. The contractors have been mobilized. They're building their office spaces and construction spaces on site. We continue to build homes for citizens and residents. I mean, just in December gone, just before Christmas, we handed over some 60 homes to 60 families, which means that there's 60 families who now have an asset worth about $300,000, which they did not have yesterday. And also from a vulnerability standpoint, they are now safer in the event of a natural disaster. Just on Monday, for example, we signed a $7.8 to $7.5 million facility project for the Carnago territory. Cultural center, resource center, and emergency center. We started in 2024 6 schools, the Goodwood Secondary School and 5 other primary schools across Dominica. This is a major investment in education. The grammar school is continuing apace, and I know you and I are past students there. We are looking forward to this grammar school, giving it the recognition that it deserves as one of the premier secondary schools in the country that has contributed so much to Dominica's development, both social and economic and political. The International Airport project is continuing apace. Work is going on very well, and we thank God for that, and we're keeping our fingers crossed, and we continue to pray for successful construction and completion. We saw the commencement of the Carpets Marina, which is going to help revolutionize the yachting industry, because while we have many yachts coming to Dominica, we do not yet have the infrastructure to provide the services to the level at which the yachts needed. And so that is going to create a whole set of opportunities for Dominicans. And my hope and prayer is that we as Dominicans can place ourselves to take advantage of these opportunities. We also saw the completion of the runway extension and the grooving at Douglas Charles. And what this meant for us is that as a result of this investment, we're now going to have a direct flight from New Jersey, United Airlines, in February. So when people ask what are we doing to stimulate economic activity, these are the kind of investments we're making. Because if we did not extend the Douglas Charles runway, if we did not do the grooving, we would not have had the direct flight from New Jersey from United. And also we have seen a reduction in the cancellation of flights, or abortment of flights by American, because the pilots now feel more comfortable landing at Douglas Charles, knowing that they have this extra buffer, though they don't need it for landing purposes because the runway was long enough. But the extra buffer and the grooving, they have said to us that they're happy with what we have done, and we have seen a reduction in the cancellations. I mean, you have seen, Ivona Curtis, 2 American airline planes on the ground at one time in 2024, which means that the demand for seats on airline seats is increasing for Dominica. So we look forward to that. On a more humanistic standpoint, we applaud the effort they celebrate with people like T.L.R. for Gatson. We had Calvin Hodge, who scored the century for us for West Indies, made us proud. You have Alec Afanaz, who is now the anchor of the West Indies cricket team. You're talking about young Stephen Pascal, who is making tremendous strides in cricket. You're talking about Ajana Kazimi, in cycling, and of course my constituent Miss Gilbert, who has made the West Indies female cricket team. All of these are huge achievements for us, and we celebrated them. And so there are a number of other positive things that we can speak about, but I recognize that you may have a lot of questions for me, and time may not be on our side to go into too many details. But I think all in all, 2024 was a very good year, notwithstanding the challenges. There are challenges, but I try not to. I always believe that the Lord places on earth not to complain, but to find solutions to things. Mm-hmm. And that's why I focus more on solutions. I focus more on what we need to do rather than preoccupy myself with the challenges. Mindful of the challenges, but more looking for solutions and opportunities to be created.
Mm-hmm. Let us zero in on the economy, though, amidst all these successes that we would have enjoyed in recent times. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, projected growth of 4.5%, I think, for 2024, 2025. But we constantly hear the term that things are tough in Dominica, things are tough in the economy. Yeah. Some people even say that things are bad. Yeah. But is that a concern for government?
If you go to the United States of America, people will say the same thing. If you go to France, they will say even worse. If you go to the United Kingdom, they will say the same thing. If you go to Barbados, they will say the same thing. If you go to Trinidad, they will say the same thing. If you go to Vanuatu, they will say the same thing. If you go to Australia, they will say the same thing. If you go to China, they will say the same thing. Any country in the world you go to now, people will have complaints, and legitimate ones. The reality is the cost of goods on the shelves across the world is a major preoccupation of every single government and every single citizen. And this is where the challenge is. What you could buy with $100, in 2023, you couldn't have purchased the similar group of items in 2024 because the price of goods have increased, and in some cases dramatically. It's a global challenge. I mean, you saw in the elections in the United States, for example, where candidates were suggesting, which is an extraordinary thing for a free market economy, and especially in the United States of America, of price control. Obviously, the candidates had to backtrack on this because there was a backlash on this because it was contrary to the spirit of a free market economy. And in any event, it's very difficult to have price control on every item on the shelf. So it's a huge challenge. for this country. What we try to do in Dominica, as you've seen, is to not impose any real taxes on people, direct taxes on people, ensure that we continue to invest in those major projects so that people can have work, ensure that we can invest in housing so that we can mitigate against the cost of people's ability to be able to own a home and to build a home in there. But for government too, as you know, government is the largest consumer of goods and services, and this is why you would hear, for example, that the government may be owing a service provider or two sometimes in between. It is because the cost of running Dominica has increased dramatically because of the rise in the cost of goods and services. Because we pay the same taxes as every citizen in Dominica, so we don't get VAT free as a government. We pay VAT as a government. We pay excise tax on every vehicle that we buy for the police or for any ministry, and excise tax and VAT. When we go to the supermarkets to buy for the hospitals and for the prisons, we pay the taxes like everybody else. So we don't get any concessions insofar as the price of goods. So this is where you have the challenge of the cost of living, the cost of living issue. And I think once the world can stabilize and we can get rid of this war in Russia and Ukraine to allow for more grains to be accessible by the international community, you can get out of this situation with Israel and Hamas, while we're seeing some stabilization taking place in Syria, and we can usher in 2025 with an end of those conflicts so that the resources of the world can be focused on helping addressing those challenges. I think we will see the reduction of the cost of living impact on people, and that's so we will be able to buy more with the dollar and ease the pressure on people. Now, some people will say, well, the government maybe could subsidize the prices of goods. That in itself can be unsustainable. And in any event, you will not be able to afford it for any long period of time. This is why you may see governments doing certain things in the region. But it's a one-time thing. It might be a $500 here, or $300 here, or $400 here, as a one-time thing for Christmas or something like this. So what we're focusing on is investments, so that money can circulate in the economy. We can put money in people's hands, in people's pockets, so that they have the means of taking care of themselves. And this is why we've remained so true to the NEP program. The minimum pay for anybody who works on the beautification program in NEP is $1,000. You understand? And so that is able to help a lot of people take care of themselves by doing work. Because they're not doing work, because they have to keep the country clean, they have to take care of the senior citizens and take care of the children. So they're engaging themselves. I will say to you, though, in respect to the economy, our revenue for the first 6 months of the financial year for 2024-2025 is better than the same period of 2023-2024. So our revenues are doing much better in this financial year so far than it did in the previous financial year, which is a sign that money is being spent in the economy. We've seen an increase in the corporate tax in Dominica. This is why we look in 2025 to look at addressing the corporate tax and maybe reducing it from what it is at 25% now to lower, so that we can keep more money in the private sector's hand, and we hope that they can invest more, so that we can increase the tax base of the country. And also in 2025, we'll be looking at the further review of the minimum wage, so as to allow persons who are reliant on the minimum wage payment schedule to be able to be given a better pay, so that they'll be in a better position to withstand the increase in the price of goods and services in Dominica.
Prime Minister, my next question is on electoral reform. Electoral reform has remained, of course, a major talking point in Dominica. The government made some progress in December by going to Parliament and at least bringing 3 electoral bills. Mm-hmm. What is the way forward? When do you expect to go back to Parliament to pass these bills to make them law in Dominica?
Because, lest we forget, we would have passed those legislation since in 2016. We went to Parliament with all of the bills. They were a comprehensive set of bills to address the issue of electoral reform, electoral modernization. We all knew what happened in 2026. We have given a firm commitment to electoral reform. We have gone through the process. We have had extensive consultation. Curtis, you're older than me. I am not sure you're aware of any time in the history of Dominica where you've had such consultation on a matter, on one matter. I mean, this is consultation you really have when you're doing constitutional reform. But we treated electoral reform similar to how we would have treated constitutional reform, because voting is so much of an important right to citizens that we wanted to ensure that everybody who wanted to have an input in the process was given that fair chance, that unobstructed opportunity to share the view. And you saw it. It was transparent. It was engaging. It was carried live on all medium in Dominica. We had international observers, international regional observers there observing the process. And at the end of the day, the Constitution of Dominica, and people sometimes speak as if, well, it is Roosevelt Skerrit who has introduced the Constitution of Dominica. The Constitution has never changed for all of the years since 1978, except with regards to the CCJ, allowing the CCJ to be our final court. The reality is, it is the Parliament that has to pass laws. Laws can't be passed in the streets. Laws can't be passed in consultation at a school or a community center. It's the Parliament that has to pass the laws. And unless the laws are passed by Parliament, the Electoral Commission will not have the authority to implement electoral reform. No, in anything you do, any bill you're going to put in Parliament, no bill will never be perfect. This is why you go to Parliament to amend laws from time to time, because something new has come up that the law did not envisage or anticipated, and you have to amend the law. So, as I said to people, I've said publicly rather, that there are some things in the bills that I don't agree with, personally, as a citizen of Dominica. But it is not for me to impose my personal views on the legislation. And so there are some things that we had firm views on. In the process, we decided to relinquish those firm views and agree with those who had different and divergent views on this matter. So you'll never have, this is not about unanimity, it's about consensus. And I believe that there is consensus in the country on advancing those bills. There'll be people who will always have different views on this thing, what should be done, what should not be in it, what should go with, and so forth. But I believe that the issues that people raised about the electoral processes of Dominica, we are confident that the bills and the contents of the bills will cure those issues. And so, Curtis, to answer your question simply, we will go to Parliament in the first quarter of 2025 to have those bills passed and to ensure that the Electoral Commission has the resources. So they have the legislation and they have the resources to effect the electoral reform processes of Dominica, and put an end to this long outstanding debate that has consumed way too much time of the citizens of Dominica, and move forward with it. And this is what we're going to be doing. And I don't think anything is going to stop us in that. Mm-hmm. Just to say to you, Curtis, you'd have heard that a group in Dominica wrote to some international organizations. They wrote to the Human Rights Council at the OAS
as well,
at the OAS, and we've responded to them. They were completely and absolutely, this organization was completely and absolutely out of place. And their requests to us were completely out of the provisions of the charter, and we have responded to them. I intend to make a copy of your letter to us, and our response to them made available to the public, so the public can assess their letter and assess our response to them. We have a constitution, we have laws in Dominica, and every international organization must understand that we are a law-abiding country, and we are not subjected to international decrees. Yeah, we have a constitution, and the constitution makes provisions for the Parliament of Dominica to pass laws. That's the only place. And so there are so many other crucial issues that face in the country that I believe that we need to move forward with, and so on. But first quarter of this year, we are absolutely going to Parliament to pass the legislation.
Mm-hmm. But yes, Prime Minister, this continues to be a national conversation. It continues to be a contentious issue as well. But you're saying essentially that you're optimistic that at the end this will go through.
I think the majority of Dominicans, first of all, the majority of Dominicans are not preoccupied with electoral reform. I go across the country, I meet people, they talk to me. And in any event, when people talk about they representing people, I represent the constituency. I got about 90% of the votes or more. So which means I'm representing not only those who vote for me, but everybody in my constituency. So when I go to Parliament, I'm the member of Parliament for the Vickers constituency. You know what I'm saying? Fidel Grant is the member of Parliament for the Westy constituency. He represents the people. So when people talk about they representing people and the voice of the people, you know, the Labour Party, the government has 19 seats in the Parliament. And people must not believe that we're a minority government. We're not Justin Trudeau, we are a majority government. And people have to understand that. This is a democracy. This is what the Constitution envisaged. That we go to Parliament, if people want to have a division in Parliament and people vote. But usually if bills are passed by the ayes have it. That's what we've done in the United Kingdom. That's what we've done in every Commonwealth country. Why do people believe that it has to be different in Dominica? Or give people the impression that it's different in Dominica? It's not. We've always followed the Constitution in respect to the processes. And so those who want to continue to make it a contentious issue can do so. I have never seen it as a contentious issue. I saw it as a discussion point. People have different views. You know, I have different views. Am I contentious? No. I have many different views in the bill. Like, there's something I don't support in the bill. But that's not for me. It's not for me. I share my views. Other people share their views. We see where the consensus is, and we say, let's go ahead with it. Everyday labor rights meet me. My supporters meet me, and they upset at me for giving up on certain fundamental aspects that they think are important to them. And they're accusing me of not representing them properly on this score. So I am placed under tremendous pressure, but you have to provide leadership. And this is why I'm providing. And I take time to explain to them why is it that we have agreed to certain things in the legislation. And on the day, they may not necessarily understand what they say, okay, Skerrit, you tell me, okay. But not necessarily they accept, but they understand. And so when they understand that we have to give in and we have to move on, and it's a give and take, and that's what we have done. And so I am saying to the people of Dominica, and I say so with the sincerity, that these bills there are addressing the issues. Those who have issues, I've said, let us not talk about we don't go to Parliament, or we're not going to pass the law, or we're going to protest. Have you read the bill? I met somebody on Sunday who I would have expected to read the bills, who told me that he hadn't read the bills. So if you have a bill is made of clauses and sections and parts and schedules. Go to the bill and tell me, Skerrit, look, I read section 41(2) of the bill, and I really don't agree with it. If I had my way, I would use those language instead, or I would remove it entirely, and then we can have a conversation. But to say that we do not want it, or we're going to stop it, or it's not going to pass, and we write into all sorts of organizations spreading falsehoods about Dominica, is not fair. It's not fair to the people of Dominica. And this is the point we're making. Opposition elements and opposition party in Dominica have never written to any international organization in all the years to seek assistance for Dominica or Dominicans. It is always to place Dominica in a bad light, always to undermine our country and our country opportunities, always to denigrate our country, always to give our country a black eye. Never to say that Dominica needs help in respect of climate change. Never. It is about ensuring that the World Bank and international financial institutions give us a better deal for development assistance. It is never about making a case to the United Nations and say that the United World must be more of a caring world and provide for the citizens of the developing world. Never. Every time the opposition has spoken and written, is always to deny Dominicans an opportunity. And this is wrong. This was never the politics in Dominica. Rosie and Mike would have gone out and represent Dominicans speak as if they were prime ministers, speak as if they were in government, looking for scholarships, looking for medicine, bringing in doctors, getting monies and raising monies out there for benefactors and building schools, paying teachers in preschools, buying books and uniforms for children, buying cultural outfits and having cultural shows. These are the things that Labour Party did. Building roads, building communities, helping the poor with housing assistance. This is what we did in opposition for 20 years, 25 years. That's what we did. And because we came to serve.
You're listening to a live interview with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit at DBS Radio. We are also, this interview rather is also on Carry FM Live as well, and we are on other social media platforms, so you could look at the interview, view it on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Curtis Matthew.
Right, Prime Minister, you announced in December that a contract would be signed soon for lighting for Windsor Park Stadium. Is there a contractor already identified for the project, and when can we see activity begin?
Yes, thank you, Curtis. I know I suspect I may name those lights after you because the number of times you ask me questions for these lights. It's like a Stevie Does matter, I think they should put a plaque in the Stevie Does building and say,
PRO for the Stevie Does.
In recognition of the excellent service to the Stevie Does by Curtis Matthew. Yes, Curtis. So we have a proposal, as we've said, from a supplier of the light fixtures. What we're doing now is negotiating a better price with the supplier of those light fixtures. And I believe that very soon we will sign the contract for the effecting of the lights. This is priority number one for us where sports is concerned. Okay, so the funding is not an issue. Now it's just a negotiation of the details, and then we will move towards signing, and so that we can mobilize for the erection of the lights. So this is priority number one for us where sports is concerned. Any money we have, we're going to put it for that to the lights because it's so important and crucial for hosting international games, and also even during the Girl Festival for enhancing the safety and enjoyment of the patrons there. So this is priority number one for us. I'm hoping by next time we speak, I'll be in a position to tell you that we actually signed the contract to supply the lights and place the lights at the stadium.
Prime Minister, I know earlier when you were looking at some of the successes in 2024, the issue of climate change came up, but you have advocated heavily for the international community to pay attention to the impact of climate change on small island developing states. Just recently, COP29 last year provided some spark of optimism with the decision of, I think, $300 billion annually up to 2035 to deal with climate change. Would you say, Prime Minister Skerrit, that COP29 brought the right formula for small island developing states going forward?
No, I think the developed world is not being sincere. They express empathy, they express sympathy, they express concern, but their actions have not mirrored that empathy. You cannot say that you agree that climate change is impacting the world. You cannot say that you agree that you are the major cause of climate change by the dramatic emission of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. You cannot say that the developing world is the most affected but the least contributor to the problem. You yourself came up with a formula, and an amount that is required to address the issue of climate change, but you're not living up to the agreements. I think that we've been taken for a ride by the developed world. And the pledges which countries make, are mainly for headlines, it is just a show, and the injustice that is being meted out to us is wrong. I mean, the sheer cost of rebuilding after a disaster by all our countries. I mean, look at St. Vincent and Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados. These countries were affected so dramatically by burial, but the extent of international assistance is very limited. It's very, very limited. So the 300 billion is way short of the $2-3 trillion needed. What are you going to do $3 billion with 190 countries? How are you going to share this? You understand? How are you going to share this? So, but the problem we have in the Caribbean, and I've said so, is that the only entity that is speaking and making a case on behalf of the citizens of the country are the governments. We don't hear academia. We don't hear the organizations, the professional organizations. We don't hear the private sector. We don't hear the other business entities. And I keep saying that this has to be a national fight. It has to be a national fight. We all have to let our voices be heard on this issue of climate change, because this is an existential threat to us. This is what is affecting us today in respect to the cost of goods on the shelves. And this is why many Dominican citizens and many Caribbean citizens and many global citizens are unable to insure their homes, because the cost, the premium has gone up 200-300%. There are many Dominicans whose homes are not insured because they cannot afford it. Every year is going up. People's mortgages are being increased every year because the insurance for those mortgages are increasing every year. And so this is climate change that's impacting you. This is why your rent is higher sometimes, because the person who built the home to rent it to you, their mortgage increased because their insurance increased. You know, somebody was just telling me that her mortgage increased from $500 to $500 from last year because insurance has gone up. And so we have to understand the dramatic impact. Just imagine, my friends, if we were not impacted by Erica and not impacted by Maria, what we could have done with all of the money that we spent in cleaning Dominica. I forgot about building homes and building schools. The sheer amount of money that we spent in dredging rivers, clearing landslides, clearing mudslides, clearing debris, and replacing infrastructure that we had just put in. We had just spent close to $100 million in the West Coast water system. It was commissioned just a few weeks before, washed away. The entire water system in Kulibishu was washed away. We had just built it. Understand this thing. So when people are talking about the government should be doing this, the government should be doing that, we also have to understand what the government has had to deal with because of climate change. Because of climate change. Just to replace infrastructure. If we didn't have to build all these new homes for Bellevue Chopin people, Piditsavan and Jubic and all these communities, because they lost their homes, they lost their investments, we had to replace it for them. What you could have done with those monies otherwise. All of the bridges that collapsed on the West Coast. 4 bridges collapsed on the West Coast. Major bridges that had to be rebuilt. That money could have been used to build the Emsol Bridge. It could have been used to build the Hampstead Bridge. Yeah, it could have been used to do the roads from Layu Park in Layu Valley and elsewhere. So there are a number of things we could have done with these hundreds of millions of dollars we spent just to respond to climate change impact. So it is what the international community is doing to us is wrong. It is injustice to the highest level, and it is unfair. It is akin to slavery. The injustice is akin to slavery, and so there are many times when these conferences are coming up, I say to myself, and we do say to ourselves in CARICOM that we're not going. But we're not going. Make no sense. You go, the sheer cost of travel tickets and a hotel, we could spend that money helping a family in the community. That's how I think. But we are reminded, I am certainly reminded, that had our forefathers given up on fighting for our emancipation, we would still be slaves today. And therefore, when there's an injustice, you never give up. You never give up the fight. You have to keep on fighting. And you have to be brave. You have to be forthright. And I'm not wage war in any country. We are speaking about an injustice that the international community, the developed world, are imposing on us. and it's not right. It's not right. The international courts have declared that they have an obligation. Even the Paris Accord, I've always mentioned, even if we sign the Paris Accord, when I was in Paris, we were negotiating for this accord. I said to them then that if this thing is gonna make sense to us in the developing world, it has to be legislated. It has to be like the WTO rules based. Unless it is not rules based and it is left to anybody to do what they want. This is why when different governments come into in the government in different countries, they remove themselves from it. Because it is not an imposition. It is not a true recognition that we have a duty to you. And let us set a time frame. Monies were committed in Copenhagen some 17 years ago. Nothing from that. And now what these people are talking, they move away from providing us with grants because it's compensation. When somebody knock your vehicle, they can't say they give you a loan to repair your vehicle. No. They have to compensate you. Now they'll tell you about the private sector. There's money in the private sector. Now, which private sector in Dominica is going to build a retaining wall, a sea defense wall for government? At no cost to them. Which private sector is going to build your school at no cost to them? Which private sector is going to build your hospital at no cost to them in this part of the world? It's not going to happen. And so we have now to do all things on our own. I mean, we were building this road in between Wadiab and Pigwa. We signed a contract for $127 million. We went to Parliament in December to borrow from the World Bank an additional $103 million to put to this road. I mean, I can tell people in Dominica, the only thing I don't do when I reflect on these things is cry. Because people don't understand the burden of these things. That what we could do with $103 million. But we had to redesign sections of the road because of what happened in November 2022, the trough system. That showed us that for the road to really be the level of resilience that we envisage, we had to redesign certain aspects of it. And in the redesigning variations, you have $103 million variations. So a road that cost you $127 million initially is now costing you $230 million. And people who make comments on Facebook, what the government should be doing and investment the government should be doing, they don't take this into consideration. And how are you going to pay these things? So everybody who sits at your home and type on the computer and type on Facebook all sorts of ideas, that's great. But let us not do it from a theoretical standpoint. Let us look at it from a practical standpoint. Because running a country is not theory.
So we have to change, as you said, essentially the way we do things, because of course the access to financing now has become more complex.
It's difficult.
So
luckily for us, we have some friends.
Because I was about to ask you, what is the main recipe though for this developmental push when the cost of healthcare, as you mentioned earlier, has become even more exorbitant? Yeah. There's a rise in CNCDs, that's alarming. Food security, of course, is a bigger threat now, and we spoke about the impacts of climate change, and I could go on. And these are global concerns, as you mentioned earlier, and it comes at a time when developed countries are giving much less. So what is our main recipe now for this developmental push that we definitely need?
First of all, I believe in Dominica and the Caribbean, we have to be more united as a people. We have to understand that we only have ourselves. We have people who will help us, but we only have ourselves to advance our country's development. We have to be more productive. We have to play our part in every aspect of our nation's development. We have to be constructive in our engagement. We have to be sincere in our engagement. And we have to recognize that this is our country. And speak positive of our country. The point is, luckily for us in Dominica, we have cultivated some good friendships that are still helping us. I mean, when people tell me about China, I mean, China has demonstrated its steadfast support to us. I mean, when China is building 7 brand new schools for us, 6 brand new schools, and they just completed the lab in Portsmouth, which is revolutionizing agriculture in Dominica. I mean, these are friends indeed. And so forth. So the investments we make in agriculture, the investment we make in digital transformation to help create great opportunities for people. That's in a new area. The opportunities that we're creating for the international airport, what that means for agriculture, for tourism, for the taxi men, for the vendors, the construction of the cruise village that will come in on stream this year. This year we will start the cruise village this year. What is going to mean for cruise tourism and for so many of the women vendors and the men vendors all over Dominica? The investment in the cable car, what does it mean for tourism, for the Roosevelt Valley and for Dominica as a whole? The hotels that we were assisted in constructing, the infrastructure that we're putting in, the marina, what does that mean? These are the things that we say. What are we seeking to do if all of us invest? When people say the government doesn't have an economic strategy, when we came into government, we first had to stabilize the finance of the country. We had to go for a restructuring of the economy and its fiscal policies. And then we had to address the issue of poverty. When we came into office, when I assumed the office of Prime Minister, we had 46% of poverty in Dominica and 10% indigence. So do your math. 46 plus 10, 56% of Dominica was poor. So you had to ensure that you protect the poor. You protect the vulnerable, that you give them a means. This is why we introduced a number of revolutionizing social safety nets. The issue of land for the landless, the issue of regularizing these quarters, empowering them. Look at Fokole, my dear friend. Look at Fokole in 2004. Go and get photographs of Fokole in 2004. When you were driving north by Woodbridge Bay, and look at Fokole today. You know why is that case? Because we regularize those persons there who own them. Go into Yampis in 2004 and compare Yampis today and see how many beautiful homes that the people have built by themselves, for themselves. You know why? Because we give them a silver title, they went to the credit union, took a little loan, and bit by bit, build themselves up, get them out of poverty, get them out of indigence. That's what we've been doing. And the infrastructure, you could not build Dominica without having proper roads. And so when people talk about the economy is not growing, why did we have 2 American Airlines flights on the ground at the same time? You think they came empty? You think they came to sightsee Dominica, the pilots? Or you think because American Airlines executive love Dominica so much that they will send empty planes to Dominica? Why do you think United Airlines is coming to Dominica? You think because they want to come and see the waterfall, the pilots and the flight attendants? No, because they see an opportunity. They did their own financial due diligence. And we have a third airline that we're speaking to, and we're keeping our fingers very, very tightly crossed, hoping that we can get this airline, because that itself will help in a dramatic way. And so these things are very important, encouraging signs for the international airport. That if at Douglas Charles we can start having direct flights, what does that mean for the international airport and the opportunities? And we continue to invest. In those areas so that we expand. Small businesses, we made loans available to them. Concessionary loans, grants. When the Small Business Union was created in 2009, between 2009 and 2023, we put in the hands of Dominicans, by way of grants, $79 million. Small business development. And almost everybody in Dominica has a small business of one way, one of the other, because of the support that the government is giving to them, to create jobs for themselves and to help them create jobs for others, and also an additional source of money. What I want to say to young Dominicans, especially young professionals, is that, and I've said so before, that you need to focus on buying a piece of land as small as it is. Build a house. If you have the means, build upstairs, you can stay upstairs and rent downstairs. Because the sheer number of people who are involved in this Airbnb and renting out to visitors is dramatic. It's dramatic. And I'm hoping to meet with those persons, because what I want to do is to create a special fiscal incentives regime for the Airbnb people, to help them buy the white sheets and the white pillowcases, the white towels, the move away from this beds, from this colorful bedspread, because children don't like those things, and to help them buy proper wares, cutlery, so that they can upgrade furniture, appliances, and they can upgrade it. And we're also going to be assisting them with bringing in videographers and photographers to take proper pictures of their facilities and create a platform where they can market themselves better and so on, to create this added opportunities for them. Well, a lot of Dominicans are involved in this. A lot of Dominicans are placing themselves in a position to take advantage of the opportunities. But there are some who will just complain. There are others who are seeing the opportunity. This land that we have in Wesley, the number of foreign nationals who have come to me personally as Prime Minister and other ministers in the government asking us to sell those lands to them. You know why? Because they see the airport there. And they're saying that they would like to get in before the airport is completed. Because Dominica, this will help Dominica take off faster than anybody believes. Foreign nationals. Just yesterday I met 2 people who are interested in acquiring lands in that area. So we're looking up. I must say that things are perfect, but we cannot say that we're not moving up. And when people talk about it coming or growing, I'd have to tell them, go and look at the budget of 1995 of Dominica. Go and look at the budget of 1998 of Dominica, and look at the budget of 2024 and 2025, and tell me if there is no growth. We never had $1 billion economy before this government came into office. We have $1 billion economy. It's growing. Are we where we want to go? No. Unless you're dead, there's no need for growth. So every day you'll deal with challenges, but we cannot say that there are no opportunities. And when we educate people, it is for you to use your knowledge as an investment. I tell people, don't go to school for any fanciness. You go to school because it's an investment. How am I going to make money with that degree I have? Because it's an investment you spend to go to school. And the government invests in you, then you must use that knowledge and that skill to create jobs. So I made the point here on Monday at the signing ceremony. If you're an accountant, why don't you and 2 others join forces and have an accounting firm? If everybody wants to have only an accounting firm, it's not going to work. And then you become a force to reckon with. We had, for example, all of these World Bank projects, the CB projects that have to be audited. The accounts have to be done. It goes through a tender process. If you have a firm, the local firms have gotten them because they're long standing. But if you have a firm, accounting firm, why can't you do this? And join forces and provide the services, provide financial advice, and let the world become your marketplace. And so we have to start positioning ourselves as local indigenous Dominicans to take better advantage of the opportunities that are created by this government.
Prime Minister Skerrit, we want to go to the telephone lines in a little while, but one of the concerns for culture in Dominica is the delay in having the Arak House of Culture off the ground. Of course, it has been devastated since Hurricane Maria in 2017. We want to find out from you what is the very latest as it relates to the Arak House of Culture.
Yeah.
And while you speak on this, the Roseau Enhancement Project. I know a contract has been signed. How do we move forward in 2025?
Yeah. Now, on the Arak, we have all of the fittings and fixtures for the internal building. That was held back because, as I told you at the press conference once, in investigating the roof, they realized that there were some leaks in the roof, and therefore we couldn't proceed with placing out the carpet and the seats and etc., the acoustics and so forth, because of the leaks. A contract actually was signed yesterday, Curtis, for the fixing of the roof, and I want to thank the ambassador of the People's Republic of China who made the funds available for the fixing of the roof. The contract was signed yesterday, and we expect work to commence on the roofing in the next couple of days. So as of now, everything is in place, funding, contracts, to effect the final improvements of the IRAC. And once we do this, and I have to speak to the family before, the IRAC House of Culture will be renamed in recognition of our cultural icon in Dominica. But we want to finish, be completed, and so that we can rename the IRAC House of Culture in recognition of a cultural icon in Dominica. But I first have to speak to the family before I can make a public announcement on this.
Right.
But everything is in place for that, and I'm happy that. I want to commend the minister, Minister Roberts, and for her leadership on that. She was really on the ball, following up on this roofing stuff, and we got it going yesterday, and so we're good to go, as we say.
Roseau enhancement before we get into the
Roseau
telephone lines.
Everything is in place now. With the Saudi fund, all of the documents required for going to tender. So I believe in the next weeks and so we'll go to public tender for the issuance of contract to start the project. So the unit is in place. They came down in November, spent a few days with us, finalized all the documentation, all of the legal aspects have been done by the team and our teams. So everything is in place. All of the documents are prepared both for the supervision and for the construction, design and build contract. So we're ready to go. The money, as you know, is available, approved by Parliament, and it's just about to go to tender. And then once you go to tender, we will commence. So we will certainly see full speed work in 2025 on this much anticipated project, which in itself will help transform the city of Roseau.
So we can begin to take calls now. Let me just give you the numbers: 1-800-327, 1-800-327, also 448-3284. The overseas number is 303-432-9744. You could also WhatsApp us on 616-1327. Let's go to the telephone. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Yes, hello. Hello, good morning.
Hello. Hi, good morning. I'm trying to get on here.
You are live. Go ahead. Go ahead. We are interviewing the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Yes, go
good
ahead.
morning.
Go ahead.
Good morning to you, Prime Minister.
Good morning to you, ma'am.
Okay. I'm calling from Campbell.
Campbell.
And it's been about 17 years ago that we were promised resilient homes because, as you know, we are in a vulnerable community, and so up to this time nothing has been done. So we are just wondering, what is going on excuse me, for the people of Campbell, because we are seeing communities that are not vulnerable, where the people are getting homes, and we are here like waiting for this long and nothing has been done for us. So so that's
I
we are
understand.
very concerned.
Yeah.
And you have been to our community, I think, twice.
No, more than that.
People,
More than that.
yes, and
More than that.
people came to. We've had interviews with people.
Sure.
Came to do assessments, and nothing has been done.
Yeah. Okay.
So we could see that their house is building up in Canefield area.
Yeah.
Is this for the people of Campbell, or we were told Warner, what is happening?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
very
we-
Well, I will not say it's 17 years. I promised you in 7 years ago, in 2007, and the people of Warner did not agree with me, Campbell, for the relocation. When we had the first system there, I went to Campbell and I told them that we have to start relocating. People didn't want to leave. So it is really after the hurricane where that people recognize that they have to leave and they're prepared to leave. So we're committed to that. But the first offer of movement was by me in 2007 when I went there. There were 2 deaths there, I believe, or more, and I felt that this place is vulnerable. Going to Campbell is vulnerable. The village of Campbell itself is vulnerable, and so I offered that suggestion. But we cannot force people. We cannot force people to relocate and resettle. So I can tell you, we have acquired lands from Social Security in Warner. We have built the roads. We have cut the roads. We will be concreting them as we go along. The lots have been surveyed and apportioned. Just yesterday in cabinet, we discussed this, and I've given both the PAL rep, Honorable Laville, and the Minister of Housing, Honorable Minister Skerrit, the instructions to proceed with haste on the commencement of this project. We have some funding for it. We don't have the funding for all of the homes that we'll build, but to get to 10, you must build one first. And so we will be building about 5 or 6 first. We'll start with 5 or 6 homes. We've identified the most vulnerable there. There are other people who indicated to us that they're not head of households, but if they get a lot, that they'll be able to go to the credit union and build their own homes. We'll also be facilitating them as well. And I've just to say I have directed that I need to go to the site the first week of February to commence. So the Ministry of Housing has but a limited time to do all of the necessary preparatory work. The designs are in place. It's going to get planning approval. We've been engaging planning on this, and to get the contracts going so that we can move to have the contract signed in the first week of February to start the project. We'll be using some funds we got from the Chinese government for this. Again, we thank them for this. So we're using some of the funds, and so we have some money to start, and as we go along, we'll continue. Like same thing with Petit Soufre and Good Hope and Sansove. We also have acquired a significant number of acres of land in Castle Bruce. We're cutting the roads there for the resettlement of persons. So these two communities, this community is Campbell in particular. Rest assured, my friend, we have not forgotten you, and this year is your year. 2025 is your year, and we will be giving sharp focus to you. I don't want to come back to you until we're ready to start, and I will come to Campbell very soon and take you to Warner to see the land, and so that we can appreciate the quality of the land, the beauty of the place. So we're not giving you no little place. There is really a beautiful place. I'll be giving you a real community where all your electrical lines will be underground, your cable will be underground. It will be a resilient community, and we'll also take in consideration those of you who have your little shops and little bars, and to ensure that those can be incorporated in the development there. So I understand your anxiety, and I share your anxiety in equal portions as you do.
Whilst you're on this PM, Kulibistri comes to mind. Any major infrastructural developments?
Yeah, Kulibistri, most of the people have indicated that they would prefer stay in Kulibistri. What they're asking for is the possibility of a retaining wall, and this is something that we will give consideration to. So it's something that I'll be hoping to go down there with the government, with the member of parliament there, and with the local authorities there to discuss with them, possibly in the month of February, to have an appreciation if that is really their consideration. Because they have the view that if we build a retaining wall, they'll be okay. I understand people who live there for so many years do not want to relocate, so we understand this thing. So we try to work with the communities as far as sensibly possible. Okay. But we'll go there and have an engagement, a transparent engagement with them. And also say, if you allow me, quickly, we'll be having a series of town hall meetings across Dominica. The first town hall meeting will be held on Monday next week, Monday the 13th at Trafalgar. So we will share the schedule of those town hall meetings. So we're gonna go out and meet the people and let us hear from them. What are their concerns? What are their suggestions? What are the ideas? So we're also engaged, and so we'll start in Trafalgar on January 13th, and the idea is to have a town hall meeting every week to hear from people across Dominica.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good morning. Okay, we lost that call. Back to the telephone. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. You are on. Go ahead.
Yes, I just would like to say good morning to the PM and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, sir. Happy New Year to you. Thank you.
Yes, I also want to say Happy New Year to the parent of my constituency on the Kassan Laville as well. I'm happy that you addressed the issue on water settlement, and we'll be looking forward to that PM. I also want to say to you that you've got my support and a number of us from the Mao constituency, the support on electoral reform. I believe that it's about time that we make a movement on that. And it took some time. We could not get everything because I myself would have wanted everything we asked for, but we could not get it. We had to make a compromise on some of the issues. So I'm in agreement with you that in the first quarter that we go and have that passed. On the matter of healthcare, again, sometimes we get a lot of flack for healthcare. But Dominica has a very good first-class hospital. health services across the island that sometimes we don't even take advantage of. Number of health centers, I think 49 plus one, I think in 75, which is make it about 50. A number of people sometimes don't take advantage of the healthcare systems they have around them. I know back in the 80s we had some health centers. I know also that when you had to go to the hospital, you also had to pay sometimes in advance before you even have anything done. In Dominica, a lot of us sometimes, even when after we have received the service from the hospital, we don't pay the bills. And when we expect the hospital to be running as though somebody is just throwing in money for it. And we complain sometimes when there's no medication. But Dominica has a first-class system. I mean, anywhere across the world, if you go to the States, you would have to have Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare, Obamacare. If you have to get anything free from the hospital, you'd have had to apply for the services first before they give it to you. And it's not, you're not going to get it unlimited. In the United Kingdom also, you don't just get to walk in there and you just get everything free. So I think sometimes it's very unjust that the number of things that I've said about the healthcare system in Dominica, and I would really love if you could at least just speak on the healthcare, because I know that is something that you really have pushed, and it's just so unfair, PM. And I am listening to you, PM, because that puts my heart because of, even when you have to go for X-ray, you have to sit for hours waiting for an X-ray, and we have gone past X-ray now, so I get kudos to what the government has done and what it's doing across the
All right. Thank you for your intervention as well, Prime Minister Skerrit.
I agree with caller. I mean, we've certainly revolutionized healthcare delivery in Dominica. We have dramatically increased the number of services that are being offered now in Dominica. The type of the quality of the equipment, the high tech equipment. We have the HIFU machine that we have not even heralded in terms of the number of people who have benefited from the use of that equipment. We have more doctors than we really need at the hospital, to be honest with you, in many areas. The ICU, we have more theaters. We have 4 or 5 theaters there. We have increased beds at the ICU. I mean, there are a lot of wonderful things happening at the hospital. And healthcare in general across Dominica. And the issue of, I've listened to the discussion in Dominica in recent months, and people are saying that people should pay something for the healthcare facility. Those who have to pay sometimes don't pay. And that's a challenge we have in Dominica. People talk about the government should be doing this and that, but we don't speak about individual responsibility. And I'm happy the caller is highlighting this in a constructive way. I made a point in Parliament that between 2022 and 24, thereabout, we have not collected over $7 million from services that the hospital provides to citizens, and this is money that the hospital could use to maintain the hospital. When you look at the cost of certain services and compared to other jurisdictions in the Caribbean, I mean, we're paying a fraction here. I mean, as it is now, to do an MRI is $150. The average cost in the Caribbean is about $1,800. You understand? And there's a recurrent cost to maintaining those facilities, those machines, and those equipment. So we're taking note. It's something that we intend to look at and to see how people who have the means should be able to pay, how the hospital and the Ministry of Health can enhance its collection and the various methods of payment. So it's something that we're going to look at. I mean, we subsidize in a dramatic way, even medication. You'll buy a Ventolin, the puff, at the hospital, say for $9. But outside the gate of the hospital, it's $30 for it. You understand? There's one, I was told, in the private sector, you get a particular item for $2,800. At the hospital, it's $700 at the CMS. So all those things are subsidized dramatically with healthcare. We understand, we as a government understand and appreciate the fact that we need to ensure that every citizen who needs healthcare has access to it too. So we have to ensure that we balance off the need for people to pay something, and that those who cannot have access to it. Because what we do not want to happen is what happened during the United Workers' Party time, when people did not go to the hospital because they were demanded and required to pay the hospital fees. And if they owed, they would not be allowed to come in. And so you had situations. This is how we brought about the policy of free healthcare for 60 and over. When I visited the Canago territory, I've said that story before. I don't have time to say it today. There were many people in Dominica who did not go to the hospital because they were told unless you pay what you owed, you will not be allowed to be admitted. And so people basically stayed away to avoid the embarrassment and die at their homes, and so on. I heard a caller calling a radio program this morning saying people used to come from overseas to Dominica for medical care. I'm not aware of that, because you had one used dialysis machine. You did not have MRI. You did not have CT scan. So what they were coming to Dominica for? People coming to Dominica now because they have MRI that they're paying a fraction for. They have a CT scan. They have a HIFU machine. We have an oncology department. We have some of the best bone surgeons in the Caribbean. We have some of the best very best eye care facility. We talk cutting edge stuff and so forth. So people come, and there are many Dominicans who live in the U.S. Virgin Islands, in Guadeloupe, in St. Martin, in the United States, who come to Dominica for medical care, who come to Dominica to do the surgery because it's a fraction of what they have to pay in the United States. As a matter of fact, if you don't have insurance and you don't have access to the Affordable Care Act of Obama, you have a problem. So we have a lot of Dominicans who come here for medical stuff. As a matter of fact, we should really be looking seriously at health tourism, because we have the facilities for it, and we have the ability to provide the care and comfort to our patients. And obviously, healthcare is an evolving situation. Sometimes if you go to the hospital, you may not get the treatment that you should get from an individual. But by and large, the nurses are exceptional nurses at the hospital. The doctors are exceptional at the hospital. People who have a bad day from time to time and tell you something they shouldn't say to you in retrospect. But we should never use a particular instance of bad treatment to justify our criticism of our healthcare system as a whole in Dominica. It's an extraordinary job, and people are doing a fantastic job. I go to the hospital is clean, the beds are patients are well taken care of. Obviously, you'll have one or two situations where things shouldn't happen. But by and large, we have to give credit to the healthcare professionals, and I will not allow anybody to denigrate them or to unjustly criticize them. When I have an issue with them, I say to them privately. I will not come publicly and to chastise anybody on that like this. But and I grew up with a nurse, and I know what nursing can be and the challenges of a nurse. So I am very sympathetic to the job that nurses do.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good morning. Hello. Morning. Hello, good morning. You're live.
Yes, good morning. I want to say good morning and Happy New Year to the Prime Minister.
Good morning. Happy New Year to you.
And I also want to ask you about something you mentioned when you visited the U.S. Virgin Islands a couple of years ago. You mentioned about affordable housing at Warner.
Yes.
For diasporans who want to return home, and then they can have a house where they can pay the government monthly and own a house along the way. So I want to know if this program is still being considered.
Yes, sir. Yes, the program is still being considered. There are two components to it. There's one for young professionals, young people. We had some delays with the designs. Some of the designs that we were having were coming up too high in terms of cost. So it would have been prohibitive for many people to purchase. So we had to do some modifications of the design and the floor space, floor plan, etc., to see how we can cut on the construction costs of those buildings. So I believe that in very soon we should be able to unveil what the design looks like. We have engaged a local architectural firm, engineering firm, to assist us with that, and they've done a pretty good job at that. The buildings look aesthetically appealing, they're functional, and the Warner area has been designated as one of the first sites. We also have land in Cotton Hill, so we're not going to only concentrate on one area, but we're going to diversify the areas that we use, different areas, so as to spread the investments and the impact on the economy and the communities.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good morning.
Good morning,
Hi,
everybody. Happy New Year, Mr. Prime Minister.
Happy New Year to you.
Mr. Prime Minister, I want to see you urgently. Can I get an appointment maybe this week or next week? Not this week, next week.
Next
Please.
week. Yeah, no problem.
Very urgent.
I know who you are, so we'll try to find you, okay?
Huh?
I know the voice, so we'll try to find you. No problem.
Please,
Okay.
I need that.
Okay. Talk to you. Sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's go back to another caller. Hello, good morning. Hello. Yes, good morning. We're speaking with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, the first interview for the new year. Curtis Matthew and myself. Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Matthew and Mr. Prime Minister.
Good morning to you, sir.
I just want to touch on a few points you have enlightened for the morning. Speaking about food security, that's one of our major things we're supposed to do first, water and food, because if you look at after some of our hurricanes, 3 days or 2 days after, we just have a serious problem for food and drinking water, some of those things, and even more safe security for people, residential areas.
Yeah.
I'm a former farmer, I'm a former tourism person. I think more supposed to be doing in the rural areas, like educating the people, like a team of cooperative officers.
Yeah.
Go out to those communities and show the people the things they're supposed to plant that don't even need much fertilizer and more organic. Because I always hear you boasting about your farm. For instance, cassava, sugarcane, sweet potatoes, underground crops.
Yeah.
I'm a vendor in Roosevelt, small business person, also doing manufacturing.
Yeah.
There's something we have to do.
Yeah.
We must do.
I agree with you.
As I heard Mr. Sam Raphael said, you must get a location for the small business people to push the products, because it's very costly. Sometimes I export and it's very cost to export. A main location, Wadix have been speaking about it for time. I myself write up on that project. It's right at the ferry terminal, that old Barracoon building. Yeah. And something has to be done. We have a minister of small business.
So what we planning on doing, my brother? And sometime I'd like to meet you because you seem to have some good ideas. What we're just going to do is to move decks here out of town, and to rebuild that structure to have it as a Dominica house where all local products in Dominica, made in Dominica, by small business people could be utilized. So you have close proximity to the ferry terminal, to the cruise ship village, to Roseau, to main shopping areas. So that's something we'll be looking at. To put Dexter out, because we should not allow Dexter to have this as rice and sugar selling. They could go out of town and do that. And to turn this building into a modern building, retrofit it so as to allow for each Dominican to have a little space where anything you want local, you can go there and get your gifts and get your supplies there. So it's something that we're looking at as well.
And one of my other points, I think...
okay, let's make it quicker.
You need to, as a party leader, you need to educate your people more about the whole political dynamic. Even on your talk shows, I think you need to have a program more educating of our history, where we come from.
Yeah.
You have people like Stanley Henry, you have people like Lloyd Pascal.
Yeah.
People that, because you see, we're getting so divided and we're not focusing much on the positive. And you need to go out to the community and interact to get the ideas. Have a good morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the caller, very good point. I agree with you on the last point, because sometimes people forget where the country was and where we are, and people believe that when Skerrit came in, we had everything and Skerrit took away from us. We forget that we had nothing, and Skerrit assisted us by the grace of God to get us a number of things that we have. You talk about food security. I mean, we built this lab in Portsmouth, and we also have a seed bank there in Portsmouth. That lab is engaging in tissue culture. It is hurricane resistant, so hurricane won't affect this building. And then we have seeds so that in a time of, if a hurricane happens or storm happens, we have seeds there. We have planting material that can get to the farmers as quickly as possible as part of our food security regime. Of course, we've been advising farmers on what are the crops to plant that are more resilient. We've studied after the hurricane. I agree with you, sweet potato is an important thing to plant. and sweet potato at any time of the year, they will grow. But I take note of your points, very constructive points, and some of them are in line with what we're doing. And I take your advice on that we need to educate more. I agree with you entirely. We need to know our history, especially our contemporary history in Dominica.
Okay, so we go back to the telephone. There's another call on the line. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good
And
morning.
how are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you. Thank you. How are you?
Oh, I am blessed. Hearing your voice this morning, I'm so happy. God bless you, my son. And I claim that precious blood of Christ Jesus from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. Fear no man, fear God, who gave life and strength to you. And he gave you the mandate to look after his country. PM, you have been doing a fantastic job. You are the only prime minister that ever in this country that has lifted that country up from the mud and bring it up to Jesus. And he's giving you the mandate to do a fantastic job. He gave you the wisdom. Continue the work that he gave you to do. Do not forget to pray. Pray to the Almighty every day of your life. Pray the Psalms 23. Pray the Psalms 121. He is your guide, your protector, your director, and your light. Let the Lord be merciful to you. And I pray for you and your wife, your children, your families, and the in-laws. All Dominican labor rights. Pray for the Prime Minister. He's the best that ever happened to us in this country. Kim, there is a neighbor of mine. They call him Larry. Mr. Austria have all his documents and the office and the boy house burned down. But for the week there. So I'm calling upon you if you can assist him to get a place for him. We have a brother that is taking care of him. So please, PM, if you can visit him. PM, you have done a lot for this country, especially in Kingsville. You have spent a lot in Kingsville. And up to now, Kingsville is like a ghost town. So I'm calling on you to visit our country, our constituency.
Okay, thank you.
I am getting trouble.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Thank you
my
for your
darling,
intervention.
have a blessed day and blessed New Year. I already sent all the New Year to all in DBS.
All right, thank
have
you so
a
much.
wonderful day. Fear no man. Okay, my son?
Thank you.
God is with you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, let's go back to the telephone. There's another call on the line. Good morning. Hello. Okay, we lost that call. Let's try this one. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, go ahead, please. And we don't have that much time, so we have to make it as short as possible.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to have some words with you.
Okay.
I don't know if you can make a time that we can see.
Okay.
Okay.
I think, I'm trying to get the voice.
So want to talk to you, not the problem.
Yeah.
The one is the problem.
Oh, okay. We'll reach out to you.
Please.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Speaking of the Prime Minister on DBS Radio, being carried live on Carry FM as well, and on our social media platforms. We have just a little more time, Curtis Matthew. We can take a few more calls.
A few more calls. By the way, Ivona, we head to Trafalgar just around a little after 11. Leroy Warwick Charles, the ambassador, will be speaking with the ace musician, Fitzroy Williams. What a program in store. We'll join them in Trafalgar a little after 11.
Good morning. Hello. Good morning to you on the telephone.
Hello, good morning to you all.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, PM, Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, my brother. Happy New Year to you.
Yes, and PM, I wish you well.
Thank you.
And I could say with all my heart, before God and before man, I would like to applaud you for the good work that you have been doing to Dominica. Because I always telling people, because maybe you do not know, I am one that stands by with you in prayer and in the public.
Of course.
And I'm one that is your straight defender in the public.
I know that for sure.
Let them know Let them know that when you came as Prime Minister for your 24 years that you were Prime Minister in Dominica, things was very tough. I know it because I'm a Dominican. And see where you take Dominica, then to Dominica now, we have to tell God thanks for you. So we asking you to continue the good work. And I will tell you that no devil in hell, they can rise up from January to December, will not prevent you from continuing the good work that you are doing. All we need to do is to pray for you that God give you the strength and the health that you continue. So have a good day, and the grace of the Lord be with you, PM.
Sure. Thank you. God bless.
Okay, let's take another call. Let's go back to the telephone. Good morning. Good morning. You are
Hey, good
on.
morning.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, guys. Comrade, how you doing?
Good morning to you. How are you?
Everything's good? Happy New Year
good.
to you and your family.
The same to you, my brother.
Yeah.
Same to you.
Come on. I tuned in kind of late. Did you touch on the garbage issue? You know.
No, but I can address it. You know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we get all the blows on
Yeah.
Facebook and everything. So
Yeah.
so I think let's if you have a little time,
Sure.
can you just tell us what's the problem? All right. Have a blessed one.
Yeah.
Keep in
Okay,
touch.
thank you.
I believe that there has to be greater responsibility on the part of individuals and businesses. I mean, I don't think people should be relying exclusively on the government to come pick up your garbage in your homes. I mean, first of all, you're not paying anything. Secondly, people are not practicing good garbage management practices. People want to send everything to Roseau, to Labas. We in the countryside, for example, I understand someone in Roseau doesn't have backyard space, but every one of us in the countryside has backyard space. Dig a hole in the backyard and put the perishables, put the leaves and the dry branches. I live at Mondan and I don't send any of perishable items to the solid waste site. You know, I have a basin in the kitchen, and every perishable stuff is placed there, and I dig a hole and I dump it in there, and I use it as compost for my plants. You know, and I think that we have to. I was driving down from Vegas the other day, and there's a truck, and a guy just threw a plastic of garbage out of his truck. You know, and we just have a disdain for the environment in Dominica. You know, the Bible is very clear on our responsibility to the environment, and I just find that there's a growing sense of a disdain for the environment and for cleanliness and for tidiness. We have a responsibility. You cannot take your garbage from a village and just dump it there in Bourne or in Dodan or in Mayo or in St. Joseph, and you're not even from Mayo or St. Joseph. You know, I mean, you go to America, all of your vehicles are full of garbage because you can't litter anywhere in America. And people want the government to do something, but when the government pass laws, people saying the laws are too draconian, the laws are this, the laws are that. So sometimes we have a problem in Dominica, but we don't want the government to do what the government has to do to solve the problem. You understand? And I think that we have to preach in this country individual responsibility. We cannot say the government doing this and the government should be doing that, and next thing when people doing things, we don't give people responsibility. And I think part of the problem with the garbage in Dominica and littering is an individual and a community challenge. And I think we have to teach, we have to show people and teach them good waste management at schools, at communities, and nationally. And I think at some point the government has to consider a small fee for garbage collection in Dominica. There's no way in the world I know of where people don't pay for that service, and it's a huge cost. So sometimes now the trucks get damaged and they're down, and this is why sometimes you have a difficulty in garbage collection from time to time. But it is not because the truck is down that the place look with a lot of garbage. It is because of our practices. You know, and this is why I tell my people in Vegas, we should not be putting garbage outside of the road. We should keep it in our yards. When we hear the truck coming, we come out of it. Every one of us has enough space in our homes to do. And so we have to inculcate that spirit and that attitude of cleanliness, beautification. You know, this is why we introduced the NEP. What I wanted the NEP, through the NEP and the beautification part of the NEP, And I wanted to turn every village in Dominica to be one of beauty. So when we and tourists like drive for community, it is aesthetically appealing, if done with flowers and plants and fruit trees, and it is clean. And if you look at my constituency, this is what I practice there, and everybody knows that. And so when you come in from Blenheim and you end up in Penville, you go through my entire constituency. We have to keep the place clean and beautiful, and I want to thank the folks for that, especially the NEP folks. But we have to keep the place clean and beautiful and attractive. All these derelict vehicles, and it's a difficulty to take out derelict vehicles. This is why we're going to go to Parliament to amend the law with regards to how we treat the derelict vehicles in Dominica, to make it more simplified and more efficient. But at the end of the day, laws are not going to solve problems. It is up to us now to respect the laws and to ensure that we practice what we ought to be practicing. And I am very, very unhappy with what we do with regards to the environment. We cut trees, we don't plant trees, we destroy plants. We have to love beauty, we have to love cleanliness, we have to love the environment. And we must not only say it, we must practice it as citizens and residents. If we are Christians and we are Hindus and we are Muslim, all our teachings speak about our responsibility to the environment. So as humanity, as human beings, we have a duty and obligation to the environment.
Let's take
that's another program. Maybe
yes. Let's take our final call. Good morning. You're on. Yes. Hello. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to know if there is a timetable for getting voter ID cards after the electoral bills are approved in Parliament, because I don't want to miss the vote. I want to be on time to make sure I get my ID card before the time expires.
Yeah. Yes, the law will stipulate the period in which you will be allowed to go through the confirmation process. I can't remember the precise months, but it may be about 15 or so months that you will have to allow for the confirmation process. So it's a lot of time. 15 months is a lot of time, and I think that every one of us who wants to remain on the voters list need to avail ourselves of that process. So you're right. You need to ensure that you avail yourself to be confirmed.
Prime Minister Skerrit, I know you have your normal press conferences, but we have to invite you again soon. Look at the time already, Curtis Matthew. The time has already gone.
I act on instructions, so if you instruct me to come, I come.
Yes.
So just tell me when you want. You told me that you want me to come and the talking point this morning. I said yes, sir. So just tell me when you come. I love these opportunities. I love especially the questions from the public, because I like to hear what they're thinking, what are the concerns, because I'm representing them, not myself. So I represent their concerns and their interests, and it's always good to hear from them. And this is why we're gonna go out to the town hall meetings. I've been told that there may be a change in the date for the Trafalgar one. So it's on Thursday the 16th for Trafalgar. And what we're gonna be doing, Curtis, I want to, and of course the general public, I have directed that there are going to be press conferences by ministries. So we'll have a first press conference on Monday the 13th, especially the projects that we have, the agricultural project, the housing project, East Coast Road, to give the government an update on these projects, and so they can ask me questions specific to those projects, so that we keep people informed what's going on, what are the challenges, what are the successes, what are the drawbacks, etc., so that we keep people informed. So 2025, you're going to see us in a dramatic way increasing our outreach in terms of information, accessibility, and keeping the people of Dominica abreast of what we're doing for them and on their behalf, and what challenges we're experiencing as a result of that.
Okay, well, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, let me thank you for spending some time with us on radio this morning and on our social media platforms as well. To all those who called, we thank you. All those who viewed, all those who listened. We will ensure that we do it soon again, and we have more time allocated for people to call and express their concerns, ask their questions, give their suggestions, whatever. But it was a pleasure being with you this morning. As I said, we'll do it again. We have another program coming up soon as well, but we are very happy that we had the Prime Minister on. Thank you for listening, all of you. Thank you.